monkey.
Hi, Pek.
Hey.
All right, your mic is hot, so we'll wait till people join and we can say hi to our audience. Welcome to the show.
How do you have like an extra window open so that when you have the YouTube live page on?
Yeah, I have a monitor up. Cool. Hello, Shar. Welcome to the show. Oh, if you have your YouTube on a different monitor, make sure it's on mute. Otherwise, there's going to be echo.
Okay. I'll just mute that.
Hello, Ashley. Welcome. Hi, Shane. Welcome to the show. You have your drink with you, Pek? Oh, water. The last show, Dre and I had the exact same drink, tequila, margarita.
Tequila.
And this episode, I wanted to drink water. And look at that.
I'm very boring.
I doubt it.
There we go. I've never done YouTube Live, by the way. I'm like a YouTube Live virgin.
We're going to have fun because you have a podcast too, right?
Yeah.
I just joined Clubhouse, so I'm pretty excited to listen to Clubhouse channels. Make sure you add me.
Yeah.
Let's try to. I'm just going to plug us on LinkedIn real quick.
Do you know these people? Oh,
No. I know Shar.
oh yeah.
What
I
about you?
figured. No.
You have an Impekable account on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, you can tag at Impekable. Yes. And I should do the same. I should post it on LinkedIn as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm.
When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me. Yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much?
Love your setup.
You see
Yeah?
that I
Yeah.
love you so much.
It's the all the colors and the open space.
Yeah.
Are you in your room or where are you right now?
In my basement.
Your
That's
basement.
my office. My,
The man cave.
the man cave. That's exactly it.
I like it. I've always wanted a woman cave.
I mean,
I was gonna get a she shed,
she,
but
is
a
that
she shed. But Shar has to make it because I'm not handy.
Yeah, I'm also not handy at all.
Oh, I'm gonna show some of those martial arts later, so you don't need to be handy if you can do that. It's what kind of martial arts is it? Is it like
Oh,
wushu?
wushu.
Or wushu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Ip Man movies. I'm a big
Oh
fan.
yeah. I still haven't seen the latest one.
Oh, you have to watch it.
4 or
It's so
5.
sad.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's actually really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Bruce Lee's teacher, right?
Don't you see
Yeah.
that I need you so much?
Okay, we got 2 minutes.
Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love.
Uh-oh, there's a lag. We need to make sure all the Wi-Fis are off. Let's do this. Wi-Fi off. Okay, hopefully this streams well. Yeah, I have an iMac, so the power doesn't really... It's not as strong as I hope it would be.
Yeah. One of the things I did was
Looks
I
like
moved away to a desktop.
you did.
Yeah.
Because you see my timer,
Windows
it's
too.
lagging. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a little laggy.
I'm trying not to do anything. It must be already...
But it was still.
Oh, it's actually already a minute. It's 5 o'clock, so we can get started.
Let's do
So
it.
let's do it. So, how would you start a digital design company? Let's get it. But first, let's answer a question from Twitter. Her name is Olivia. The question is, what is ClosedWon and how does it work? Here's how it works. Simply log in using Google or a Gmail account. From there, on the left-hand side, there are 3 tabs. The first is your leads tab, which will allow you to purchase thousands of leads. They're ready-made and they're curated to fit specific buyer personas, or persona for short. You can view them by clicking on View Leads if you're interested in looking at the details. Once you're ready to push leads into a campaign, the next tab will allow you to push a buyer persona into a campaign. And that campaign includes email campaign or smart campaign. A smart campaign is a multi-touch campaign combining email and LinkedIn, whereas an email campaign will allow you to send out multi-touch emails. The final tab is a scheduler. It's a public scheduler that allows you to add the link to any emails or LinkedIn messages so that you remove the back and forth conversations on reserving a meeting. So let's try it in action. Let's start with the leads page. All you have to do is choose your buyer persona that you'd like to purchase. And from there, click on Push to Campaign after you've purchased your persona. And then we will choose a test campaign and click Push. Right away, you'll see that there are automatic messages and automatic sequences. Feel free to customize at will. And then when you're done, click on Activate. And that is it. That's how you connect with 1,000 leads instantly, or in less than 60 seconds. Feel free to sign up to a 14-day trial, and see you at ClosedWon.
Hey, what's up everybody? Zen here with ClosedWon. Welcome to the Happy Hour edition. This is a channel where we enjoy a nice cup of joe while covering basic sales tips for first-time founders. Every week, we reshare motivational videos and talk to high-impact entrepreneurs. Our goal is to introduce you to people and ideas that will help you execute on your dreams. We'll talk about real-life experiences, examples that you can apply and practice immediately. Finally, we bake in sales strategies to help you make money, methods to help you close deals. Very quickly, let's say hi to our audience. We got Shar, Ashley, Shane, Pek, Paul. Who else is here? Katrina. Welcome, welcome. If you haven't done so, don't forget to smash subscribe. Let's do it.
I found that nothing in life
There's a friend of mine who's got a great saying about creating a company. which is trying to build a company and have it succeed is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. So, I mean, what tends to happen is it's sort of quite exciting for the first several months of starting a company. And then reality sets in, things don't go as well as planned, customers aren't signing up, the technology or the product isn't working as well as you thought. And then that can sometimes be compounded by a recession, and it can be very, very painful for several years. So I think, frankly, starting a company, I would advise people to have a high pain tolerance.
Pek is currently helping enterprise companies achieve their goals through product strategy, UX, UI software design, and app development. He builds an omnichannel contact center, chatbot, IVRs, and SMS tools. His clients include Nike, Google, Adobe, Accenture, and more. On top of that, he is a mentor for entrepreneurs at 500 Startup, Techstars, and Mobile Makers Academy. His design agency has been awarded fastest growing private company in America, Inc.'s magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will learn how to start a digital design agency. Please help me welcome Pek Pongpaet.
Very glad to be here. Hi.
Pek. Oh, for some reason this always happens. This happened the last time too. Let's see. All right, there we go. There's like
All
a
right.
third ghost that just keeps on
Yeah,
joining.
yes, sir.
Welcome. How are you doing today?
Big crap. Hi. Doing good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Aw, what was it? Kop kom kop?
Sawadi, sawadi.
Sawadee. All right. Last week, we brought in an SEO titan in Silicon Valley. The reason is to help people learn how to start a business without money. So this week, I brought you in because every startup, every business starts with an idea. And so I want to start there. The concept of Impekable, its journey. Walk us through your origins.
Yeah, it not as interesting or purposeful. I moved to Silicon Valley with dreams of building a giant tech company like everybody else. You know, it's the same way that people go to Hollywood because they want to make it as a big star, right? I moved to Silicon Valley with dreams of, being part of or building, whatever, right? Whatever big thing, the next Uber, the next Airbnb, the next Google. I spent, prior to that, even going to the Bay Area, I spent many years building many failed products, but I thought, I wasn't getting any younger, and I wanted to be where the action was, where all the people were building tech companies. So I moved out there, joined my co-founder. I had a friend who's also a technical co-founder, joined him, and we worked on several ideas that really didn't end up going anywhere. One idea that was a little notable was this Instagram product, and it basically, at the time, Instagram and Pinterest were really popular products. And the actually humorous joke was, well, if we just if Instagram was $1 billion and Pinterest was 500 million, if we can just combine the two, maybe it'd be worth like a 1.5 billion. As a joke, as a total joke. So we made it, and it kind of blew up. Not in terms of, in terms of press. Like, we were on Mashable and I don't know, tons, like Time Magazine, tons of other things. And but at the end of the day, there were users and people liked the product. It was just a way to view Instagram photos in a nice Pinterest layout. But at the end of the day, it wasn't our users, it wasn't our data, it's not our platform, not our content. So when you think about building stuff, the saying is don't build on OPP, other people's platform, because you don't own any of it. They can turn it off, and then you're stuck. So that was a lesson. Anyways, tried a couple other ideas. None of them really panned out, and we kind of parted ways. And all the time when I was building over the year that I was in the Bay Area, people were always asking me for design help. They're like, "Oh, you're a good designer. Can you help me with my product?" And I would say, "Go away. I'm not interested because I'm busy building my own dreams. I don't want to build your dreams." And but I wasn't a good entrepreneur. I didn't have a lot of things. I didn't have the sales skills. I wasn't solving real business problems because I wasn't doing the hard work of talking to customers. The curse of when you're a designer and engineer is if you can build your inclination and you're a shy person, I think what tends to happen is you build stuff without talking to people. So I would say that that's a mistake, you know. And what you should be doing is talking to customers. Anyways, lots of failures. And after about a year and a half of things not working, my co-founder and friend and I parted ways. And I started listening to people. I was like, okay, what was it you wanted from me again? I started listening to people. It's like, help me build my product. Help me build. Yeah, you're a good designer. Help me design this stuff. And so I helped them. And more people wanted that. And more, work started. I took on one client. One client became two clients. Two clients became three clients. And they all wanted all of my time, which at one point I was thinking I was probably working like 80-hour weeks or longer because everybody wanted all of my time and I can only work so much. So that's actually when we hired my first like half-time designer. So just to kind of alleviate the pressure. So I hired a part-time designer. And what happened was the work didn't slow down. It just kept coming up. And I asked my designer, it's like, hey, can you help out some more? And she's like, no, I'm good. 20 hours is good for me. And I was like, oh, I really need some more help. So I ended up hiring two more people. So we finished the first year with three, myself included, three full-time people. And really that was kind of how Impekable started. It wasn't like, oh, I had this vision of this successful design agency. I just kind of stopped and listened to people and listened to what they wanted from me. What was I good at? And I was good at product design, software design, and that was the basis of the company. And slowly we grew over time, and we got that bigger and better clients over time, and built a stronger and stronger team. But it was a slow, it was not an overnight success. And even when you call me successful, but I feel like we still have a long way to go. So many things we're just getting started. We're just now, um, very, even though a lot of time has passed, I think because I was not a seasoned entrepreneur, um, we were suffering from a lot of things that a young company would, you know, like maybe a more seasoned entrepreneur wouldn't be suffering from 8 years in the business because I was so inexperienced. So I would say, it's definitely a journey, but we've come a long way, and we're still learning. And what the best thing you can do is, as you grow, invest in people, get good talent, get people with experience who know what they're doing, and they bring a lot of experience to your company and can help accelerate the growth of your company. Or even, if you're in your own mess for so long, you can't see the forest for the trees. You're too close to your problem. Sometimes you just need someone who is experienced, who has a fresh pair of eyes and a fresh, different perspective, who's not so close and personally invested, to be able to just see something like, hey, that's kind of weird how you do this. I'm like, oh, really? How do you do it at your company? Oh, we do it this way. Oh, yeah, that's actually a much better way to do it. But if only you only know what you're doing, you don't look outside, sometimes you're just repeating problems that have been solved. a long time ago by other people.
Yeah, definitely. You don't know what you don't know. And
Correct.
I really want to go into this failure and mistakes, but before we go there, I'm gonna stick in the origin section.
Yeah.
Yeah, we opened the show with ideation. It's intentional. So I really want our
The,
viewers.
Go ahead.
Well,
Uh, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. We're
yeah,
speaking over each other.
well, because our viewers are aspiring entrepreneurs, right? And so our goal on this channel, it's really to help them execute. It's like you have these ideas and ideas and ideas. And so what would happen if someone from this show were to inquire at Impekable and, they had a great idea, walk us through like the process from conception. How does Impekable turn that idea into an app, for instance?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. Well, a lot of things you have to think deeply about that business, that idea you have. People say you have to write a business plan, and I always, you know, it depends on who you ask, but some people really hate business plans and say you should just go and build it. Don't think about it. Just go ahead and build it, and then. Uh, but I think a business plan helps you think through how are you going to get customers? Who are your customers? What is the segment? Like these are the things. So you have to think very deeply about that. How are you going to service them? How are you going to grow your company? Where's the money coming from? How long will the money last? What are you going to spend the money on? All those things help you plan for, the more prepared you are, the more planned you are, the more likely you're going to be successful. If you just jump in and, hey, I got an idea, let me just go hire a company to build an app right away. How are you going to acquire customers? What is the plan there? Have you thought about it? So I think it's worth thinking about all those things up front. Also doing the market analysis. Like, a lot of people have ideas where, myself included, right? We think it's original or think it's unique. But most of the times, a lot of the times, if you just go to Google or go to the App Store, there's usually, there's nothing really new under the sun. There's usually like spin-offs or mixes or remixes of an idea, right? Like maybe you have a better take on how to do something. So I think it's also worthwhile looking at the competitors. How are they pricing? How are they getting? And it's okay to even model off or see, poke around. How do they? What does their software look like? Who are their customers? Where do their customers find that product or service? Right? Where are they listed? Right? If it's software, it might be like they might just post it on G2 Crowd or something like that and get tons of reviews there. Or maybe so, maybe it's on Product Hunt, stuff like that. So kind of doing your homework will give you ideas on how to execute on your idea and refine your idea. Talking to customers. Actually, I just gave a talk on how to approach MVPs, so the concept of minimum viable products, to an accelerator. And one of my first slides was talk to customers, right? Okay, so your idea is, unless you are yourself are the customer who has that pain point, if you are not the customer, you have to talk to customers because you are interpreting their needs. You don't know their needs for sure until you talk to them. And even when you talk to them, you choose to let, you as a person, you don't have a shared brain. You're interpreting their communication. You're hearing certain things and you're not hearing other things. So talk to as many people that kind of fit what your customers look like to understand their real pain and need, and whether this is a vitamin pain or a morphine pain. So by that I mean, like, a vitamin pain is like I could either have my vitamin or not, right? Like if I miss it for a day, I miss it for a week, nothing's going to kill me. Morphine pain is I'm in real pain and I will pay money to get that morphine to stop the pain. So it might be a good idea, but if it's a vitamin pain, you might not be a viable business. So understanding the level of that pain. Uh, understand who the decision makers are. This is all part of business planning and the business strategy and how you're going to go to market. Who do you have to convince? Sometimes software, the way it's sold, the people who use the software aren't the same people who buy the software. This happens a lot in big enterprises, for example. So you have to know kind of how to approach that market. So assuming that people come to us with some of these things defined, and they have a better idea of how the software should look. Well, a lot of times people still don't have a better, clear idea. They just want to hey, I have an idea for an app. It's Uber for dogs or something, but I have no idea what that means. So it's what you want to do is, in order to work successfully with any like a developer, another team member, an agency, you have to document. You have to think through all the features and all the wants and needs of your app. So an exercise we do is, one, I think it's a good idea to look at some of your competitors, because most likely the features that you have are very similar to the features, or the tasks to do are similar to what the competitors have. And then you can say, oh, I like this about them. This is where it kind of sucks, and this is why my idea is going to be better. I'm going to do mine this way. And what is your improvement upon this, the idea over, say, your competitors? I think that's a good idea to have. So doing some sort of competitor analysis. And
really
also,
like
if you, yeah. And if you've never built an app before, there's so many features and so many screens that you have to think about. For example, if you have to ClosedWon, right? You might have to, maybe the onboarding, you need to, how do you know what kind of leads I want, right? So there's some sort of maybe questionnaire or onboarding to find out what sort of target market you're trying to look for. What are those, how do you go and ask those questions? How do people sign up? How do you want people to sign up, with your G Suite or Google login? Like, those are, unless they're clearly spelled out, the people who are designing this software don't know, right? When you say, oh, create a login or registration, okay, register. And they do, oh, emails registration. It's like, well, where's the Google login? Well, you didn't say you needed a Google login. Okay, this is where being as detailed as possible is really helpful.
Right. There's a really good question in the comment right now, and I really want to answer this. It's by Katrina. And she's asking, or she's saying, it's so hard to take the first steps and actually harder to know what step to take first. So this is actually a very smart question, because you have that conundrum, right? Chicken or the egg, chicken or the egg. And so I kind of set you up, Pek, there for a second, because I think before people go to you, I think the best way to understand what you're going to move into or what idea you're going to build is the pain that you're feeling right now. Like, as a person, as a consumer, we all feel some kind of pain, whether we're going to take the vitamin or the morphine, right? So what is that one pain? I'm going to take DoorDash as an example. So we're using DoorDash. It's very expensive. So as a consumer, to me, I think DoorDash is way too expensive. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do we make that more cheaper so that we remove companies like DoorDash? What if we brought in a marketplace where, let's say, a consumer can just hire someone else without that middleman? That's it. It's a marketplace, literally, where you can choose shoppers for you, where you can choose drivers for you, therefore eliminating the percentages. It's kind of like insurance, like you're paying people for insurance, and it's like, why am I paying for insurance? I'm like, why don't I just pay the doctor straight away? So this is like things that I always think about, and it's very difficult to get to that point unless you feel the pain. But in addition to that, like, you can only build, I think, on that idea if you service it. So that's like the second point, I think, which is very important at ClosedWon. we didn't have a product. We serviced everything. We used Excel sheets, like anything that's for free. We were very, very manual. And I believe there's other people out there where they started a company and they would just help people move, and literally they would wait at IKEA to walk up to people and say, hey, do you need any help? And there's a business now.
Right. You don't need an app for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that until it breaks, meaning like you get so much business that you can no longer, and you're getting so much people. At that point, you're generating enough revenue that it makes sense to have some technology free up your time or make this process more efficient.
Yeah, so I guess in short, what we're saying is before you think of an app, that MVP can be your service. Make some money and then use that
Yeah.
money and then pay you to start building the app
Yeah,
and scaling
in
it
fact, you
out.
shouldn't do that at all until much later. What you call just servicing it, I had a name for it. It's called the Wizard of Oz MVP. If you ever, I'm dating myself, but there's an old movie called Wizard of Oz, and there's the Grand Wizard looks like some big, powerful, omnipotent being, but behind the curtains, it's just a man doing all this,
Right.
controlling all the mechanical stuff. And the Wizard of Oz analogy is the man behind the curtain analogy is, you're manually servicing the stuff. And the two big examples I have is when Netflix first started out with DVD rentals. If you remember, streaming wasn't a thing yet, but Netflix
right.
started out with DVD rentals.
Delivering.
Mailing you the DVDs. When they first started out, they didn't just go out and say, we're going to build the largest DVD rental platform in the world. To test their idea, they put it up. If people rented a movie, guess what? They went out to the Best Buy and bought the DVD and then mailed it to you. They didn't have this whole huge inventory. So they just serviced it kind of as needed. Same thing with Zappos. When Zappos, the shoe store that got bought by Amazon for $1 billion, they didn't have a whole warehouse full of every size shoe you can imagine. They put up the shoes as an online catalog, and then when somebody bought it, guess what? They ran over to Foot Locker or the Nike store or some outlet and bought the shoe and mailed it to you. Until they couldn't do that, until it made no sense anymore, until they got so much orders that it proved to them and their investors that there was a business there.
Right. Gosh, I'm getting goosebumps. Just these two ideas and how big they are today, Zappos and Netflix. And RIP to Tony Hsieh as well. Great guy. One of the reasons why I moved to Las Vegas is wanting to meet him actually in person.
Did you ever get the chance?
Oh, there's a funny story with that. Actually, yes, I did not meet him. We had a meeting. I went to Zappos, but he didn't show up, and I don't know who was responding to me on LinkedIn. There was someone responding to me, so it was a very bizarre experience. But let's talk about failures and mistakes. Top 3 mistakes, actually.
A lot of mistakes.
Yeah, so many mistakes. Can you share some?
Well, I think it's the same mistake as many entrepreneurs before me and many in front of me will do, is thinking that your idea is perfect and is going to work, and going with conviction. I would say blind conviction that it's going to work, without first validating or making sure that this is something that people want. For example, there's so many projects. I call them projects. They're not even businesses or companies. I built a bookshelf social networking tool called Shelf Love. It was good enough you can find, you can Google it. It's dead now, but there's articles mentioning it when it first launched. But it's kind of like a Goodreads, a bookshelf where you can catalog stuff. And
You'd go against Amazon, but there's
it uses the Amazon API. Actually, it was just sort of a better visualization of the Amazon API. That was a no real business model. No thought in that. It was kind of like a lot of these things that I built in the early days were kind of, I think, feeding my whimsy and my ego of wanting to build stuff for the sake of building stuff. So I would say that they're almost more like art projects than actual products, if that makes sense. So that's, that was a failure of me talking to customers and seeing if there was a need for a better bookshelf, book cataloging tool online, or a way to search for books. Um, yeah, so those are some of the early days. The other one, I think both I and many people do wrong, is we try to protect our idea. We try
Yeah.
to hide our idea, thinking someone's going to steal it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
I mean, I'm sure like Elon Musk could tell you, hey, I have an idea. It's a great idea. Build rockets and send them over to Mars. Oh, don't steal my idea. Nobody can, it takes more than just that crazy idea of building rockets and sending it to Mars to, if it was that easy to copy it just by hearing it, then many people would be building SpaceXs. But there's
Right.
just this huge, huge gap between idea and execution and reality, right? And if anything, in the early days, what you want is champions of your ideas, right? People to support your idea in that sense. It's like, hey, it's a good idea. If you're so overprotective, if I protect my idea so much, I mean, think of it almost like you know, it's almost like, I guess, coming from a martial arts background, right? Uh, Martial arts analogy here is, the idea is the fighter. If you had to protect this person all the time, then the idea is not that strong. The idea needs to be good enough to stand and protect itself, right? And you want to validate that. You want to try out the idea to see if it can withstand other ideas. Are there better ideas, right? Put it in a cage match with other ideas and see if it can withstand, if it's a good enough idea to fight other ideas, right? So those are kind of some of the advice I have is, put it out there, test it against other ideas. Most likely,
Forget
people
about the
think,
NDAs.
yeah, yeah. Well, most, obviously there's things like patents and proprietary ways of doing things. I think those can be protected, but like saying, hey, my idea of, my dog walking app is so secretive that I can't tell you about it. It's kind of weird.
You're
So
right.
tell people, because obvious, one, you want to check if people have that problem, if they're going to be willing to pay for that problem, so to solve that problem, right? Or if it's a real big enough problem. Yeah.
Right.
So share your
Speaking
idea.
speaking of martial arts, I just want to show this to the audience real quick. You guys want to
Oh God.
see Pet kick some ass? Becoming a successful entrepreneur isn't easy, but there we go. All right. Quick fun fact. Peck used to be a, what is it, like a body model for, well, actually, audience.
Motion capture.
Yeah, who in the audience used to play Mortal Kombat back in the days? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Anybody? Anybody? Peck used to be John Cage.
Well, I used to be the motion capture artist for the video games. Yeah, yeah.
So pretty
Like
awesome stuff.
Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Kung Lao, Liu Kang, those kind of things. Yeah.
Scorpion was my favorite character. I always
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sure I was Scorpion. Yeah.
I like
No,
Scorpion. Scorpion, Sub-Zero. You didn't like Sub-Zero?
Scorpion all the way.
All
Get
the
over
way? You like
here.
Fire? Get over here.
All right, we got some players. Awesome. Okay, let's go into the next question. So, this would be the actionable tips. There's a lot of freelancers, designers on Behance, Upwork, Fiverr. Most of them are actually really talented. Some are probably painters, graffiti artists, photographers, you name it. What tips would you give them? Actionable practices that you can, for these guys, what would you tell them to begin to build their digital agency if you're, let's say, a freelancer and you already have good experiences?
Right. Yeah. Well, one, it's hard to build your own brand when you are underneath somebody else's brand. Uh, by that, I mean, you're under the Fiverr brand, you're under the, um, Upwork brand or whatever. So, try to extricate yourself from those brands and build your own brand. For example, like, there are companies that want to hire us, but they want to white label us, for example, right? Meaning they
Right.
want to say they did the work and we'll hire you to do it. I I would say we rarely ever do that because we're trying to build our own brand. We'd rather not have that business. We'd rather have the space and the availability to take work directly ourselves if possible. Because what we want to do is build the Impekable brand. We don't want to necessarily build their own brand. So that's one thing. So your actionable tip is to build your online presence, start building your network, and come up with
Personal
your own
brand.
brand, a
Yeah.
personal brand or a brand of your company, and start selling your services under that umbrella.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip, and it's very actionable because you can build your brand anywhere on Facebook, on Instagram, and all the Gen Zers, they're figuring it out. They're on TikTok
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
building their
Build it
brand.
on,
Then I see them and
yeah,
I'm like, oh my god, these kids are
build it
fuego.
on,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't do TikTok. I'm like, I want to go on there and dance. I think it's so cool. I enjoy TikTok a lot better than Facebook because there's no politics and whatnot. But to the viewers, if you guys want to start selling your e-commerce, you want to start your digital design services, you can definitely build it on Instagram and TikTok and dance and dance and show off your
Yeah, I think
designs.
there are online platforms that, like for example, we use Dribble. We show our work on Dribble. We show our work on Behance. Yeah, I mean, there's for every niche, know where your customers hang out. I think would be, yeah, the,
Nice.
the advice.
Before I ask my last question, tell our viewers where they can listen to your podcast. You haven't dropped it yet. And what should they do prior to connecting with you on Impekable?
Sure. Well, I have dropped the pod, so you're asking me to release the podcast a little bit early, but I'm happy to share with the people here.
Exclusive.
I'll do it in an exclusive sneak preview. So again, in living the spirit of the advice I'm giving, release something early. Don't be so protective of it. But yeah, I have a podcast called What is UX? It's a podcast for UX designers, and yeah, if you're familiar with designing user interfaces, you might know a design tool called Adobe XD, and one of the first guests is somebody named Colin Wadsworth, and he's the principal designer at the Adobe XD product. He was one of the 4 people who essentially started the Adobe XD program. So it was great to have him kick off our design podcast, UX design podcast. Yeah, and that's the podcast is in the chat if you're interested. So we'll be interviewing guests, amazing design guests from industry. Today actually we just interviewed somebody, a Google designer, and yeah, that's kind of in processing. Yeah.
That's exciting. So tell me, how does Peck win deals?
How do I win deals? So when people say, they look at our walls of logos and they're like, how are you able to get these blue chip companies? How are you able to close these big logos? And I kind of laughingly say, you know what? I don't know how to sell to strangers. I only know how to sell to people who know me and trust me already. And which isn't very impressive at all. I can only sell to friends. So the hack is make more friends for
That's
me.
that's a great advice.
If if I can't, if I suck at selling to strangers for whatever reason, and I can only sell to people who already know and trust me, how do I overcome that? How do I grow my company? Well, I guess I just figured, well, I just make more friends. Um, and yeah, how do I close sales in general? Um, One thing that a muscle I've developed over the years is I am good at, or I've become good at, keeping in touch with people. People like Zen, I haven't talked to her in years, and I reconnected. Um, yeah, it's very easy for people to keep in touch with their siblings, their parents, their best friend. That's table stakes. That's very easy. It's really hard to keep in touch with hundreds of people and trying to keep those loose connections alive, because you never know where those acquaintances may end up. They might end up working at Nike. They might end up working at Google. They might end up getting a job at Disney. And if you don't keep in touch with them, you don't kind of keep that relationship alive. Well, one, you don't even have that opportunity to open that door, right? Because if you're trying to knock on the door at Disney and you don't know anyone, it's going to be a hard battle to try to get them as a customer. But if you keep in touch with your friend and they know what you're up to, they know what service you offer, and you check in with them every, once a year, or so, and say, hey, hey, just congrats on your new job at Disney. Those are the greatest points of contact or reconnection is when they get that new job,
Right.
right? It's a time to congratulate them on the new job. It's not a sexy tool, but I use LinkedIn for that. I browse LinkedIn and see when people get new jobs, and LinkedIn nowadays even helps you. Like, hey, say congrats. You don't even have to type that. You just hit the button. But I try to personalize it and say, hey, congrats. I usually say, hey, congrats. Let's catch up when you have a chance to settle down in your new role.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like, hey, go figure out what's the lay of the land and let's catch up.
That's kind of what happened with us.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing I do is try to keep my relationships and connections alive.
I love it. Awesome. Stick around and try to engage with our audience. Enjoy your, I think it was a bottle of water, and wait until the end of the show, okay? I'm just going to transition. All right, closers. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Pek and his journey to becoming a successful entrepreneur. Imagine a kid from Thailand. He probably started with no money, to Inc. magazine's fastest growing private company. Now he is the founder and CEO of an award winning digital design tech company in Silicon Valley. I believe that this is a journey that anyone can go on, and that the biggest mistake you can ever make is to not take risk, because nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. If you have a vision and you want to start a design company, your business, conceptually or otherwise, reach out to Pek at www.impekable.com. Watch his videos, listen to his podcasts, learn as much as you can for free. This is a time in history where knowing is not enough. We also need to know how to practice and condition our dreams into reality. So tune in, and it will change you if you let it. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, and until next time, keep on closing. Peace. Becoming a successful entrepreneur isn't easy, but it's not impossible. Subscribe to my channel today, and together, let's figure out how to grow.
Bring that ass back like a boom, boom, boom.